What other top priority areas should they be looking at?
Listen, at the end of the day, it's the economy. If the economy is doing well, and because, they talk about going to solve unemployment and other things, the government of Ghana employs less than 1 million people. This gymnastic of youth employment, NABCO and other things are all gymnastics. At the end of the day, if, say, inflation is down, the borrowing is down to about 15%. It can go lower, but now I cannot ask for the moon. And private sector businesses. I mean, I'm not boasting, but my school, last month, you know the number of people we paid? 352. And if you have 1,000 people, and there are many who can have businesses that can employ that, you are talking about how many? In the millions. So it's the first area is the economy. So that you make businesses easier, employment, someone employs 2 here, 3 here. So the economy is number 1. Number 2, which they are trying to do, is corruption. Corruption is a canker which, if we don't tackle it, I don't know where we are going to go. Actually, I don't know whether the politicians ever mean business. They come.
Why is that? You don't think they want to tackle corruption?
No. What I'm saying is that over the time, corruption has been growing. And they have come to power and gone, come to power and gone, come to power and gone. And now, but that is an area where if Mahama can make not a vindictive type of things, but putting in a system which when you steal, you will be found, you will be dealt with, and you will set an example. Because unless we reduce corruption, we have nowhere to go. I think that the area of environment now is now on a very high level we must tackle. That is Galamsey. And wanting destruction of our forests and our farmlands. And I don't know whether you have been traveling. I do travel a lot for other reasons, which I don't want to go in. I go to Bogoso, Wasamenfi, where I went to school, Sehuyo also, I went to visit them recently, Chirano mines and everywhere else. I went the other day, people were shocked. I drove myself to Bimbila and back with my girlfriend, that's my wife. And I said that no, because when I'm driving long distances, I don't want these young boys to be driving the wife of my youth. So I drove to Bimbila 13 hours and back myself. But as you travel, the destruction of our environment has reached epidemic proportion. We must look at education also, not as only SHS. The biggest problem is that the 80% of basic school, primary to primary and JHS, which are government owned, most of them, the World Bank study in 2016, do you know how they describe education at that level in Ghana is schooling without learning? Yes.
That's tragic.
It's tragic. We are living in the fool's paradise of yesteryears, Ghana's education. No. I go to my village at least once a month, most of the times, because we have a school from KG to secondary school there. And it's tragic. When I'm insisting that 80% of all the students in the secondary school in my village, which my wife and I have founded, should come from the 12 villages around my village. You know that 90% of them, we take them from the junior school, having finished from the public. We have to spend 1 year preparing them to be able to cope with secondary school. At this moment, I have 74 of them, and we have given it a nice name, Transition Access Year. And this is, so the education must be looked at comprehensively. I will stop here
because I want us to look at each of those priority areas.
Then we are going to spend 2 years here.
We'll try not to. Right? Since we started with the economy already, let's go on to the 120-day promise that the president-elect has made. One of the things he wants to do within that period is a Senchi-like conference where they bring minds together. Obviously, you've talked about participatory governance.
And Senchi was a very good model.
It was a good model, which means that doing this is good. But what I want the Ghanaian people to understand is, to what extent could it help support efforts?
I think that whether we like it or not, and I'm talking as an economist, I'm a development economist, there are some hard things that we have to swallow in order to mend the economy. We have to increase revenue without necessarily increasing the incidence of taxation, which is difficult. We have to cut expenditure. This import, whereby, excuse me, I know they will get me in trouble, but I will say it, Guta think that they are as important to Ghana as Ghana Association of Industries. I mean, the importers. No, they are not. We should make imports difficult. We should stop importing everything like orange juice and everything else, and we can live without them. Nigeria stopped even rice. There are 240 million people, and they are now almost rice self-sufficient. There are some hard decisions, and you don't take hard decisions sitting in Jubilee House and then says, this is what I want to do. It will give you another tsunami 4 years' time. So you bring the people. Again, let me tell NDC and MPP, their members are not the only Ghanaians. There are less than 500,000 NDC and MPP card holders. The other Ghanaians, for every one intelligent NPP or NDC, you have at least 10 equivalent of Ghanaians in the other sectors. And, let me tell you that, I was one of the 6 people who chaired the Senchi consensus. I chaired the economic one. And Pakwesi, my friend, I was there as far as in Kuranza. I got a call in an evening about 5 o'clock, says that I want you in Senchi the next morning. I said, excuse me, are you crazy, Pa? But of course, I can tell him in private. He was vice president. So I said, yes, sir, I will be there. Then DC is here to pay my fare. I had to ride to Kumasi, take a plane, arrive that night, arrived there. And to me, it was such a wonderful, the chairman, I can't remember that myself, PV Obin, Patrick Awia, was Kwame Pianim there? I think so. And we came out that this is the way to go. And we told Mr. President, So, of course, not being a politician, you keep quiet and the politician fight. You have taken us to IMF. And I think that the economy is so important. And NDC has gotten some intelligent people like MDC, but at the end of the day, I think we have a wider Ghanaian pool of intelligence. And you don't lose anything. At the end of the day, when they tell you and you don't like it, you choose what you do. But having access to the best brains in Ghana, and even from outside, Ghanaian diaspora has gotten some very good knowledge.
Right, so putting together the conference, they should look at varied places for human resource to come up with
every
a plan
sector.
It
should be general economic, but also sectorial.
Just like it was with Senchi.
Yes, Senchi.
Very well. Speaking of the IMF, the government-elect has talked about, not cancelling the program.
They can't, because if they cancel it.
They can't even cancel. But
the city will tumble to 30 overnight, and we will all be dead. There's a way. I think that they are capable. I know they will handle it well. They will not even dare to touch it.
But the president-elect has, noted the difficulties he would have with the IMF in the picture and his immediate radical reforms, what he calls immediate radical reforms. How should he strike the balance? Is there room for balance? The reforms he wants to implement and the IMF program on the other hand.
You know, people, unfortunately, the IMF is a good scapegoat to serve them right. They think that they are the rulers of the world. But when we talk about the IMF program, the 3 billion is peanuts, of which about more than half has been chopped. No, the IMF program is actually all your donors, all your creditors saying that you have been misbehaving, quote unquote. If you don't subject yourself to the discipline of the IMF, we will show you the red card. So when you go to the IMF, that's why they are that powerful. Mm-hmm. So it's not the IMF program. I mean, we can throw away their 3 billion. We can save it by just reducing corruption small. And that is it. But the fact that it is a litmus test of all your relationships with your bilaterals and the multilaterals, and in this case, also your commercial debtors. So that is the first issue. But there's room, and here, you can go to them, hey, I'm a new government. If I don't get a leeway, a little small, I'll be in trouble. And they understand that language. So you are not going there, I'm the new government. Just go away. Your government, what will happen to you there will catch you up. So, but I think that the IMF and their sister World Bank will understand that a new government needs a little bit. In other words, they will allow you, there are certain ceilings. They will allow you small to go above, say, the deficit a little bit more, and that what you could have achieved, say, in 2 years can be spread over 3 years or 4 years with that understanding, and if you keep to it. So this is the type of margins you go in there. If you go in, like Lawrence came, I was then the head of research and economist of investment promotion. Oh, yeah, no. By August 1983, they were there begging. Please, they shouldn't do that. Fortunately, you can blame the outgoing government for putting us there, and then you can negotiate for certain lengthening of certain time. What you have to do it in 6 months, let us do it in. And also, they can, even if you're a good boy, they can decide that we will extend the program by giving you more money.
I see. Will extension be helpful to the country?
No, but the question is that all that they are asking you to do are the things you should do anyway. But you said that, instead of the 3 billion, that give us 6 billion and let it be a program for 5 years. At least it will be after you. No, it may be another NDC. I'm not saying that there will be a change in regime. So there's the room for that. But if you go with Katechi, one word by the IMF West African vice president or whatever it is can dip your city, can do you so much harm, and they don't stand for election.
I see. Prof, the incoming government and the incumbent appear to be at variance on the impact of the IMF program on the economy, while the president and his finance minister have said that the economy has rebounded. The president-elect says he does not believe those figures. He doesn't think that the growth being announced by the finance minister, yes, it's true. What do you see as far as the impact of the program is concerned for us?
At the end of the day, it's talking like half cup full or half empty. Let me tell you, these growth figures, which they like to fight about it, if there's an average of 5% growth in nominal terms, and population is growing about, say, 2.5%, its real growth is 2.5%. When your conditions is improved by 2.5%, will you see a difference? The answer is no. But cumulatively, it makes a difference. In the short run, that by itself, the performance of the economy will not make much difference for the ordinary Ghanaian. what will make a difference for the ordinary Ghanaian, of course, for that to be sustained over a longer time, meanwhile, dealing with things that we have to do now, reducing inflation. We don't need to go into it, making sure that we cut imports, we increase revenue so that the CD is stabilized, if possible, improved. Then it will have a direct impact on that. But the performance of the economy is too fragile for me as a development economist to say that the last 3 months, the economy grew by that. Do you know that might depend upon even the harvest? We are actually from August to December is our peak period in harvesting everything. So a lot of things, if you even them all out, it is a good sign, and I don't think there should be any disputation about it, because eventually the facts will show up. But then it has a marginal effect. Let the politicians talk about it. As a development economist, it is quite marginal at this stage. But the program would stabilize, if we are able to follow through, to stabilize the whole economy and allow the economy to start functioning a bit better than it has been in the past.
I see. Which brings me to the question. Earlier this year, you had mentioned that the Ghanaian people should brace themselves for a difficult 2025 and beyond. Is the outlook still the same?
Yes. Because, sad to say, let me give you a best case scenario. If our economy grows at an average of 8%, and I'm using round figures to make it easier for if you are not a statistician, and the population is growing at 3%, you have 5% growth. Do you know that when an economy or anything by compound interest grows at 5%, it takes 15 years to double? That's how long it takes.
15 years?
15 years. So, but of course, we have had 30 years, 32, 33 years. If we have been growing that way, by now, the difference will have been day and night. So the first thing is that it will take a longer time for us to get out of this doldrum. The second is that between now and 2028, when the IMF program, if it is not extended, will end. After 2025, 2026, we have now to be repaying the debt. Because at this moment, the government is not paying any interest, any principal of our debt. 2026, 27, 28, we have to be paying it. And these things must be factored into it. Meanwhile, we have to be looking at how we are going to solve our energy problem and other things. But it is doable. And I believe that people can be, when they see the sincerity of the leadership, that they are not, for example, and I'm not saying that they should. If I'm president, I will not use, even allow any minister to use a V8. Not because the V8 already been bought, but the question, the psychology. When you say we are in trouble, if you use a Pajero or any of these four wheels being made in Ghana, it still goes. So there must be, when you are able to demonstrate to people that times are hard, they are prepared to listen to you. Even in my micro situation in Gimpa, my first 2 years, I told the people that we will not get a salary increase for 2 years, but good times are coming. Do you know that we didn't get salary increase for 2 years, while before me, as public servant, they were entitled to any announcement of increase in that. But they were able to bear with me. But 2-3 years, we were able to double our salary.
You don't say. You don't say, Prof. I'd want us to turn attention to, and again, I wanted us to talk about jobs, but perhaps we should skip that and look at the second priority area you mentioned, which is corruption. The two things the incoming administration wants to do: one, it wants to work with a lean government.
Okay.
And so the issues of ministers, V8, and all that will be cut down, right? But is it an issue of quantity or quality, or perhaps a matter of both? As far as your expertise is concerned.
First of all, we will hold him responsible for what he said. But the system is not ministers, including deputy ministers. And since some areas will have 2 deputy ministers, then we are talking about not more than 25 ministers. So that is, so I think that the numbers, a country like Ghana, I think that you can rule Ghana with even 15 ministers. Because you have divisional chief directors and other things who, highways. Now we have 5 transport ministries. Come on. So the room to cut is very much. So that is the first. The second has to do with the quality and how you, the structure. Because a minister is not the one who does the day-to-day. It is the technical heads. So you must structure it. You can have railways, doesn't have to have a minister for railways to have one in Pakadai. Or, then you have minister for transport, minister for roads, minister for airplanes. All of them can be headed. So therefore, his 60, to me, even is so high, but if he has been able to reduce somebody's by 40%, you cannot complain. So I think that has to do. But it's also how much you allow them to spend and waste. I was just talking to one of your young men outside. I said that, look, I earn at least twice that of a minister of state in Ghana. And the amount of houses they build, the amount of money they dash when they are doing, I'm hearing that the campaigns, they spend between 2 and 10 million. I mean, that shows it's an indication of the corruption. Because why will you spend 10 million for a job which pays you less than $500,000 for 4 years?
4 years.
So this is the area. So it's not only reducing it and making sure that capable people occupy those positions, but that they work efficiently and that his corruption one, which you are coming to, is reduced to the barest minimum. You may not be able to eliminate corruption, but and then we are going somewhere. And there will be models because the ministers, because they are corrupt, let me tell you, the public servants are worse. It's endemic corruption in the public service now. But when the ministers come, they say, let's see. Then they will put some small thing there. Utafria, once you taste it, look at Daya. So that means that it's all the same. Then they.
So then the president-elect can pick the best ministers by competency and by character.
Yes.
But if the people he's going to work for in the public service are as corrupt as you describe them, it brings us to...
No, because the public servants, that's what I'm saying, they test and see the direction of the minister. That's what I'm saying. So as soon as you go, I've seen it even in the university, as soon as public universities, a vice chancellor is appointed, the next thing is to get him a bench, get him that and that and that. Then the status quo will continue. And that's what they do. They quickly will try to compromise you.
Right.
Once they compromise you, then they say, now.
So it comes back to leadership.
Leadership is cause. Everything else is effect.
Which means that the president-elect must be careful.
Himself must be a model. And then his appointees, and hold them accountable. And then for them to deliver, they will have to hold the next ranks accountable. That's how things are done.
In what ways could he be holding not only himself, but his appointees also accountable?
Listen, I have not been a president before, but I've been a leader in many areas.
Indeed.
And I've served a lot of people, including the General Secretary, the Secretary General of the UN, and I've served when I was younger, even the man's time, I was in the presidential team. Yet it's different. You have been in it for a long time. I believe that you give someone a job, you define the job, the expectations, and that is what you use in measuring them. For example, I think that, let me say, transport. NPP people, in their last minute things to try to change Ghanaians' mentality, has brought in this drip That's a district road improvement program, whereby every constituency has been given a caterpillar, an excavator, a truck, a grader, and that thing. You know, it was an advice I gave to President Atta Mills in 2009. And you live in Accra, but every district was supplied with one grader.
So it was done under Mills?
Yes.
Okay.
And if you go to most of the old district assemblies, there will be a grader, a Chinese grader parked there. As soon as it came, they captured it, they used it for their business, and when it got broken, it was parked there, and nothing happens. So at this moment, this is the accountability. If I have given this equipment and I give you fuel, which has to be given, then when I go to any district at any time, all the roads, feeder roads, should be motorable, because this equipment will keep every feeder road motorable. So you are holding those responsible accountable. Other than that, all the DCEs are going to be contractors.
Which is what the incoming government should do to
Yes.
cater to DRIP.
Yes. So I'm giving you how. So you are Minister for Roads and Transport. You say that now, and you go out. You send people to go to the districts. And the people say that the roads are not being kept motorable. You hold somebody responsible.
Thank you so much for coming.
It's
Thank
a pleasure.
you so much.
It's a
Professor
pleasure.
Stephen Adair has been my guest here on Hot Issues. I'm Kemini Amano. I'll see you same time next week. Bye-bye.